Round 3 of the WeatherTech Championship is complete, and once again, the Grand Prix of Long Beach has provided us with a truly entertaining event. Even though this was a short race, it was action-packed all the way through, and I'm going to recap it all, as this is my race review for the 2024 Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. For Round 3, IMSA only brought 2 classes, the GTP category and the GTD category, with 27 cars out on track. In qualifying, Pete Boderani would put the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac on pole position for the 3rd race in a row, and in GTD, it would be the number 89 Vasser-Sullivan Lexus on pole. This is typically the number 14 Lexus that competes in the Pro category. As the race began, Pete Boderani would lead the field away in that number 31 Cadillac. Bourdais in the 01 Cadillac would make the jump up to P2, getting ahead of the number 25 BMW, which qualified in an impressive P2. The number 6 Porsche would try and challenge that BMW, but would ultimately settle back in 4th position. It was definitely a cleaner start than the previous year of competition. In that race, the 01 Cadillac's race ended very early, and the 24 BMW and number 60 MSR Acura made contact. As the GTP cars continued their race, the GT field was led by the 2 Lexus RCF GT3s from Vasser-Sullivan Racing. The 89 car would lead ahead of the 12, but unfortunately for the team, it wouldn't be a Lexus 1-2 for long. This was because Albert Costa made a courageous send to the inside of the hairpin on the number 12 Lexus and moved his number 34 Ferrari into 2nd in the GTD category. Soon the number 12 Lexus drifted outside the top 3, and their position in the class would unfortunately get worse. This was because that very same entry was hit with a drive-through penalty for breaking away from grid position before the start of the race in that class. Back up in GTP, there was an intense battle mainly for 3rd position between the number 6 Porsche, driven by Nick Tandy at the time, and the number 25 BMW, driven by Nick Yololi. With the Cadillacs up ahead, the 2 cars would go side by side to battle for the final podium position. Eventually, at turn 9, the number 6 Porsche would claim 3rd. Meanwhile, there was an incident in GTD when the number 70 Inception McLaren got loose on the exit of the corner and unfortunately went into the path of the number 120 Porsche from Wright Motorsports. Unfortunately, this incident removed both cars from the race, and when the full course yellow eventually ended, this meant we were down to 25 entries officially running still. So it finally came time for the pit stop phase, and this is where I believe the race win was decided in the GTP category. Between the leading Cadillacs, Durrani pit in the 31 car from the race lead, but he was held up in the pits by the number 45 WTR Lamborghini. The 31 crew decided to do a full pit stop, including fuel, tires, and a driver swap, with Pete Boderani jumping out and Jack Aiken jumping in. But on the other hand, their rivals, the Chip Ganassi crew, decided to do something different with the 01 car. The team pit their Cadillac for fuel, a driver swap, but no tire change. This allowed for Dutch racer Renger van der Zande to get the 01 Cadillac ahead of the 31 Cadillac in the race lead. This strategy was similar to what Porsche Penske tried in the 2023 event, where they didn't pit for new tires, and eventually the number 6 Porsche won the race, partly because of that brilliant strategy. This was definitely a risky move for Chip Ganassi Racing, but one that could pay off in glory for the 01 crew. While Cadillac was having a great race with their 2 entries up in 1st and 2nd, a manufacturer that wasn't having a good time in GTP was Acura. The Acura ARX06 didn't have the ability to challenge the Cadillac V-Series R, for example, for the overall victory. And unfortunately, things just got worse for Acura when the best placed number 40 WTR entry crashed off in turn 1. Seemingly a mistake was made, putting WTR's Louis Delatraz into the wall at turn 1. Thankfully, the Swiss driver was okay. Not only was it difficult to see the 40 car out of the race, but this would also lose Wayne Taylor Racing the championship lead in GTP, surely handing things over to the number 7 Porsche Penske crew. Later on, the bad news continued for WTR as the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura made contact with the number 85 JDC Miller Porsche. Albuquerque had made a late overtake on Westbrook in the 85 car, sending the JDC Miller Porsche into a spin at around turn 7. This ultimately resulted in the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura being hit with a drive-through penalty, which completely ruined any chance for Wayne Taylor Racing to take the victory at Long Beach. But it wasn't just the Wayne Taylor Racing entries that were having difficult races. The number 12 Lexus kept encountering issues. This time, a puncture forced that Lexus to move even further back in the GTD field. It really just wasn't having a good race. But it really just was one side of the garage that was having a difficult race, because the other side was having an absolutely brilliant time out in the GTD field. The number 89 Vassar Sullivan Lexus, driven by Parker Thompson and Ben Barnico, were out in the lead and comfortably in a position to win this race. Now, there hasn't been many Grand Prix of Long Beach without some sort of mayhem at the hairpin section. Once again, like years before, chaos ensued at the hairpin in the final 30 minutes, when the Forte Racing Lamborghini made contact with the fast-approaching number 6 Porsche Penske, which sent the Porsche into a spin and blockaded the majority of GT and prototype entries. Entries were stopped out on track for a few moments, but eventually got going again. One car that was heavily affected though by this incident was the number 25 RLL BMW. This was definitely disappointing, as this number 25 BMW was in a very good spot for an overall podium and fighting the Porsches and sometimes the Cadillacs for the overall win. Thankfully, the 25 BMW did make it back to the pit lane for repairs, but the damage was done. It was no longer in contention for the overall podium, and unfortunately things got worse for the car. This was when the BMW headed straight into the wall, tragically taking damage once again. BMW's hopes for a top 5 position now rested in the 24 car, but that entry unfortunately could not get past the number 5 Proton competition Porsche, and so it remained in 6th position. Back up at the front, things were getting very intense in the final few minutes, as Renger van der Zande's tires were falling off fast, and Jack Aiken in the 31 Cadillac was pushing hard to get this first win for Action Express Racing in 2024. But even though the 31 Cadillac had fresher tires, Aiken couldn't find a way past, as Van der Zande continued to defend and hold off that Cadillac to successfully win the Grand Prix of Long Beach. This was a commanding victory for Chip Ganassi Racing, and their first IMSA win on the streets of Long Beach since 2022, when the same driver lineup delivered the win in the DPI era. Cadillac and the 01 crew would achieve their first win in 2024, with Sebastian Bourdais and Renger van der Zande lifting the trophy for Cadillac Racing Chip Ganassi. The 31 Cadillac would settle for second, with the number 7 Porsche continuing their podium streak, completing the top 3. Last year's race winner, the number 6 Porsche, would be in 4th, with the number 5 Porsche from Mustang Sampling Proton Competition in 5th, followed by the 24 BMW, the number 85 JDC Miller Porsche, the number 10 WTR Acura, the 25 BMW, and finally the number 40 Acura, finishing with a DNF. It's also worth mentioning that Chip Ganassi Racing would have a brilliant weekend overall, as a day later in the IndyCar race here in Long Beach, Scott Dixon would achieve the victory in the number 9 Honda-powered IndyCar. But going back to the IMSA race in GTD, it would be the number 89 Vassar Sullivan Lexus RCF GT3 that would take the victory, a commanding win for that team as well, who led pretty much from start to finish. And remember, this car is typically the pro entry, as Vassar Sullivan Racing decided to enter in 2 cars into the GTD class, the number 89 symbolizing the establishment of Lexus as a brand. Heading out of this race in Long Beach, the championship standings now look different in GTP and GTD. In GTP, the Porsche Penske Motorsport number 7 car is now completely alone at the top of the standings. Of course, the LMP2 and GTD Pro standings remain the same because the cars weren't here, but in GTD, the 57 Windward Racing Mercedes is still at the top. But after securing the podium in Long Beach, the number 96 Turner Motorsports BMW has been elevated into 2nd position. So that was my race review of the 2024 Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. We won't see Long Beach until 2025, but now we're heading to the classic Motocourse de Monterey at WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway for round 4. What did you think about the Long Beach event though? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, I suggest subscribing. The reason why is because I make endurance racing content mainly on WEC and IMSA every week. And if you want to watch more videos, there's options on your screen. But for now, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one.